I think this is going to be a nice step forward for widening our welcome to people who can't always come to the business meetings of the congregation. I'm going to turn everything over to the man who's done all the work on this, Frank Hansel, who's worked at understanding what he needed to about California corporate law and many other topics in order to be able to put together a good, solid proposal for these bylaws. So, Frank, take over, and I'm going to man the other mic, and when we get to questions, I'll run it around to whoever has questions.
So thank you, Alan. I'm Frank Hansel, your assistant moderator, so I'm sort of third in rank here presently. And today we want to present and respond to questions, comments, or seeking clarifications about these proposed changes. So if we can proceed to the next slide. Is there anyone back there running slides for us? Uh-oh. They put up my title slide, but so while we're recovering that, just advance the slide to the agenda slide. Our agenda today, I'll briefly describe our purpose for meeting today. We'll walk through the proposed amendments, and then there will be an opportunity to ask questions or raise concerns and so forth. So if you could hold on to that, I'll work through this as quickly as we can. Let's talk about the meeting purpose. Next slide. So we're here today to talk about potential amendments that is changes or additions to our church's bylaws. We are governed by our bylaws. We are a church, but at the same time, California considers us a nonprofit corporation. So we are incorporated, and our functioning is under the religious, if you will, aspect of California nonprofit law. So, we have to adhere to our bylaws and function in that way. So today we're going to be talking about amendments that are being proposed to enable our membership, all of us here today, to understand what's being proposed. This meeting is limited to comments and feedback, so we will not be voting on this proposal today, because our bylaws outline and dictate how changes are made in an orderly fashion. So today's business meeting is really just to present and discuss and build consensus around the proposed changes. We will not be voting. Next slide. Just a little bit of background. A year ago, or in the annual meeting held earlier this year, we got quite a bit of feedback that said, gee, we really want, we're not able to be there. We really want to vote on some of the business matters that are coming before the membership at the meeting, and yet we could not allow that, which we can get into, but it's on the slide. California law does allow nonprofits to conduct remote business meetings, and this is where some of the participants are not actually in person present in the meeting, which in today's world, that's become commonplace, mostly through our experience of the pandemic. People are regularly worshiping online or wanting to Zoom into meetings. Nevertheless, our bylaws do not permit that, and it must be enabled through the bylaws for us to allow it. So you kind of see there, following the pandemic, this has kind of become the norm. And really, we want any member in good standing should have the comparable ability to participate in our church business meetings remotely as those who are here in the room. And that would address the concern and issue that was raised last year by a number of members. So next slide. So what do we mean by remote participation? Being included in the count to establish a meeting quorum. So again, we, under our bylaws, must have a certain minimum number of members in good standing attending the meeting in order for the business of the meeting to proceed. And this change would actually allow us to include those people online in that count. So not everyone would have to be here in the room to satisfy that quorum. Secondly, it would enable the remote members to make or second motions, as we do here in our business meetings, as well as offer comments or ask questions on the matters under consideration at the meeting. So again, last year, people were online. I don't know that we've welcomed any questions from online, but this authorizes that specifically. We would have to provide that if we pass this amendment. And finally, those online would actually participate in the voting on matters brought before our business meetings. So the proposal that is under consideration when we come to that point is adopting the changes and amendments, which I'm going to cover with you today, that will offer remote participation at both annual and special business meetings. So next slide. I think we begin the changes. So the first aspect of this is just changing some of our existing bylaws to accommodate this change. This first one describes the quorum that's required for a business meeting, and you can see the changes are in bold. So originally, only members in good standing and present at the meeting count in the quorum. Well, present means in person, so that has been modified to include members attending by remote means outlined below, and we'll see that in a moment. Yeah, it's correct in the hard copy you have. Sorry, I replicated a typo in my slides. Next slide. So section 6, still in the same area, is an addition. This entire 6.24 defines what constitutes remote attendance. Members not physically present in person at an annual or special business meeting of the members may, by remote access means, participate in the meeting of the members, be deemed present in person, and vote at a meeting of the members if the church implements the necessary measures. Next slide. Those measures include, so when we notice a meeting, that is when we call or announce that a meeting will occur, it will be necessary for us to describe the mode of remote participation and instructions for access. So in today's parlance, it's like, hey, how do I get the Zoom invite, or where do I RSVP? It's going to be, the meeting will be live streamed on Zoom, or it's going to be live streamed on Facebook, or how you will get access. Next, the church must provide members not physically present a reasonable opportunity to participate in the meeting and vote on matters submitted to the members, including an opportunity to read or hear the proceedings of the meeting concurrently with those proceedings. So these are things that when we're in person, we kind of just take for granted. They are part and parcel of our ability to participate fully in the meeting. You can imagine if you're sitting at home right now on Zoom, you can hear me, but it's like, hey, how do I get your attention? Raise your hand, I want to speak, as we will do later in this meeting. That has to be facilitated in the way we conduct meetings once we approve this, so that people participating as members online are treated essentially equally. So, the person facilitating the meeting, moderating the meeting, leading the meeting, has to be in contact with, our access to the online members, and providing these same opportunities to participate. Next slide. The list continues a little bit. We just have a couple more. If a member votes or takes action at the meeting by remote access, the church maintains a record of that vote or actions in its books or records. Sort of a fancy way of saying we have a way to, for people online to express their vote, and we incorporate that vote into the results of the meeting as we would here locally. You know, everyone who approves, please raise your hand. We're going to count the votes. We have to be able to do that for anyone participating online. And then lastly, the church verifies that each person who has voted remotely is a member in good standing. So that's likely to occur, you know, in our process for admitting people to the meeting, and or, you know, wouldn't necessarily happen at the time you vote, but we have to be assured that the people who are voting or whose votes are being counted are members. And then next slide, last change, I think. So our remote meetings will, you know, necessarily include a live audio visual feed for the duration of the meeting. Again, that's good. If you're experiencing the meeting here, you are not deprived of hearing and seeing what's happening. So nevertheless, so if a minimal disruption of the audio-visual feed would not require us to end the meeting or render us out of compliance with the requirements in this section. So sometimes, you know, there's a glitch in the live stream or a slight perturbation in that. As long as we, in substance, the entire meeting is accessible online, it's still valid, is what that's kind of saying. So those are the substance of the changes, and once incorporated into our bylaws, we would be able to offer this capability. So next slide. I think we're set up, ready for discussion. So if you have a question or comment you'd like to offer, just raise your hand, and we have someone in the room with a microphone who will bring it to you.
Just for clarification, so it says you can read or hear on the Zoom, so a person on Zoom will be able to read the stuff, read the new things, and then comment on them, right?
Correct. So as I mean, literally, so in a business meeting, someone's presenting potentially, let's say, financial material. They're not going to read everything on the slide as I just did, but if that slide is visually shown to the online participants, they can read it. So that's kind of the sense of it could be conveyed through you know, verbal reading or actual, you know, seeing what is being displayed here.
And then I guess that also includes, like, sometimes we're handing out hard copy in person, and those documents would be available online.
Well, they would have to be available ahead of time. Like yes, they would have to be available to people.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like a great idea.
If we don't make them available ahead of time, they would have to be available electronically, for sure.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you, Frank and Alan, and all of you have worked so hard on this so that to make it easy for us to understand and read. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, we appreciate. Well, really, I should have started by saying, you know, we heard you, and we really wanted to address this concern from the membership so that, you know, everyone has that ability to participate. We want to be inclusive.
As one of those that's been affected by this in the past, and I'm in and out of town, et cetera, I greatly appreciate this modification to be as inclusive as we can for everybody in this church. So it's very much appreciated. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Is this a good time to ask questions about how we would implement this remotely for voting and ensuring people are actually members of the church?
Well, yes and no. So we've kind of touched on something already, a few of these aspects, but not everything necessary to implement this new capability need to be prescribed in the bylaws. And in fact, that wouldn't be advisable because you know, we have alternatives that can be used, and there's really no need to, you know, bake those into our bylaws and make it kind of too rigid. But if you thought about, as I mentioned, the ability for someone online to request, like, you know, we just said, raise your hand if you want to speak. Well, we have to have that ability for someone like me standing up here leading the meeting. It's like, okay, who's raised their hand? I can see if there are hands raised here, but I need some communication with whoever is managing our online live stream for people to express their desire to speak, and we then have to have an ability for them to speak and for them to be heard in the room. That's kind of modeling someone coming to you with the microphone, but it's kind of the opposite. They're going to speak from home, and we need to hear them here. Everyone needs to hear what they're going to say, not just, you know, the moderator. So that's one aspect. Richard has mentioned another, which is just determining, you know, who are our members in good standing. These are all things which obviously we need to work through. The live stream methodology we will use, and access to it. Bill raised another one. You know, if we're handing out paper in the meeting, that has to be accessible somehow online, or distributed ahead of time so people could open it and peruse it themselves. I would think it would be beneficial if everyone had earlier access to that material, because no one wants to read 100 pages, you know, in 5 minutes before the meeting starts, even if you're here. So yes, all of those things between the time we approve this and the first time we use it have to be worked through. And we've tried to identify as many of those as we can, but those are some TBDs, which again become more the procedures we will follow to ensure we can implement what's stated here in the bylaws. Voting, reading or hearing, you know, kind of raising your hand to voice a comment or pose a question, all of those things have to be addressed, but not in the bylaws.
Okay. I'm assuming that this will be voted on in February at our annual meeting. So if it is not in place until the meeting, that means that it cannot be used for the meeting. So this will take effect after the annual meeting for which it is voted upon?
You're a good straight man, Greg. So can I go to the last slide? We have one more slide in this pack, which talks about the next steps. So I don't want to cut off the discussion, but you know, the input we received today will go into the final proposal. The plan is to call a second special business meeting, which cannot occur for at least, at least 30 days after the final proposal is available to the membership. And the thought is to approve this in late November. So before the Advent season and Christmas kicks off and all of that. And you are correct, Greg, if this wasn't approved before the annual meeting was called, it really couldn't be put into practice, which is why we want to do it now to allow us the time to work through the procedures I was just talking about, get organized, understand how to implement, and enable it for the annual meeting in February 2026. It's the desire. Alan, did you have another question?
Another question, Alan?
I'm always curious about the details. So if you're going to have we have had secret ballots on some of our votings. So how are you going to do that? Then suppose there's 30 or 40 people online, and you're going to tally each vote. So that would just explain that process.
Yeah, there are different methodologies. In Zoom, you can do polls, which no one else sees, they only see the total. So it's not necessary that everyone know how you're voting, even online. And I kind of assume that our process will involve counting the votes in the room as well as counting online. So someone like our clerk, Richard, will be, perhaps helping monitor that process with our technology, our AV people, in order to tally those vote counts and roll them up with the count in the room to achieve the result. So the secret ballot is actually perhaps simpler online than it may be in the room, because everyone in the room has to fill out a piece of paper, we collect them all, and then we have to count them individually, whereas online it can be just handled by the technology, yes or no, and we just see the total, and we don't even know who voted yes or who voted no. That's a good point, though.
Thank you, everyone, for all the good questions. Is there anything else, or shall we adjourn? Oh, Bill's got one.
One thing, instead of collecting pieces of paper in the room, just have everybody in the room have a cell phone. And do all, if you want an anonymous vote, do it all. Anyway.
That would make everyone a remote participant. All right. So if there aren't any other further questions, as stated here on the slide, our intention is to schedule an additional business meeting, which can be called with just a couple of weeks' notice. And we have a tentative date for that. I think it's November 23rd. But that requires that any changes we make to this have to be made available to everyone within a few days of this week to meet that 30-day availability requirement. All right.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank
and
you
one
all.
more thing, which is, wasn't it great to hear the diaconate talk about their work today?
It was. Oh, one last thing you all could help with. We will require 50 members in good standing to show up at that next special business meeting so that we can vote.